Aaron Rodgers gave the football world a bit of a jolt this afternoon, but not in the way fans might have hoped. Instead of breaking news about his NFL future, Rodgers made headlines by sitting down for a 3-hour episode of the Joe Rogan podcast, which dropped earlier today. Naturally, curiosity got the best of me. I dove into the entire episode looking for anything that could hint at where Rodgers stands with the Pittsburgh Steelers or with football in general. But let me tell you right now, if you were hoping for answers about his next move on the field, this podcast didn't deliver them. The whole conversation was a winding journey through everything but football. We're talking vaccines, conspiracy theories, space aliens, political takes, and long-winded philosophical rabbit holes. You name it. Not a single playbook, training camp, or quarterback drill was mentioned in the span of those 3 hours. It became pretty clear early on that Rodgers went into this interview with a purpose. No sports talk at all. He likely told Rogan ahead of time that he wasn't interested in diving into anything NFL related, especially when it comes to the free agency saga that's been swirling around him for months now. Still, even though football never came up directly, there was a moment that caught my attention. A subtle detail, almost slipped in but potentially very telling. While discussing health issues, toxins, and various medical concerns, Rodgers opened up briefly about something deeply personal. He mentioned being in the weeds with people close to him who are currently battling cancer. That line stood out. For weeks now, Rodgers has cited personal issues as the reason for his radio silence on football decisions, especially when asked about his status heading into the upcoming season. Until now, that phrase, personal issues, was vague. Today, it gained some clarity. So, while Rodgers didn't say anything about the Steelers or his football plans directly, he did give us a peek behind the curtain. It seems that those personal struggles involve people in his life dealing with serious illness. And that's real. That's heavy. It's not the kind of thing you just compartmentalize and ignore. If people you love are facing life-threatening conditions, it's understandable that you put everything else, including football, on pause. This revelation puts a new spin on everything we've been hearing over the past few weeks. Suddenly, his absence from OTAs doesn't seem like a diva move or a strategic ploy. It feels more human than that. If Rodgers is spending his time supporting family or close friends through something as brutal as cancer, who could fault him for stepping away from the game for a bit? Sure, as a Steelers fan, you'd love to see him in Pittsburgh tomorrow. You'd love to see him building timing with the receivers, working hand in hand with the offensive line, and getting to know Arthur Smith's system from the inside out. That's what OTAs are for. That's where the chemistry starts. But when real life hits you hard, even the NFL can take a back seat. The issue now is how long this situation could keep him off the field. Cancer isn't predictable. It's not the kind of obstacle with a clear timeline. These are the kinds of battles that stretch on for months, sometimes longer. And Rodgers, understandably, might not want to fully commit to a team until he knows he can give them 100% of his focus. And here's where things get tricky. With the Steelers' mandatory minicamp right around the corner, starting June 10th, time is beginning to matter. If Rodgers still isn't mentally ready by then, it raises the question, could this situation stop him from signing with Pittsburgh at all? Could the personal turmoil he's facing end up delaying his decision so much that it bleeds into the regular season or even leads to retirement? It's a tough possibility to consider, but one that's gaining more weight with every passing day. That said, there are people close to Rodgers who still believe he'll suit up this year. According to his biographer, Ian O'Connor, who's been in touch occasionally with Rodgers and claims to have a pretty good grasp of what these personal issues involve, the expectation is that he will play. O'Connor didn't downplay the seriousness of what Rodgers is dealing with, but he was clear in his belief that it won't stop the quarterback from returning to the field. In fact, he suggested that Rodgers has even told the Steelers that he intends to play. He just doesn't want to show up, leave halfway through minicamp, and create more chaos. He wants to wait until he knows he can be all in. That's not exactly a full commitment, but it's not a door slam shut either. It's a signal that Rodgers is trying to handle his personal life with integrity while keeping one foot in the game, ready to step through once the time is right. O'Connor even mentioned that Rodgers believes things will be resolved to his satisfaction by the end of May. which would allow him to join the team in time for the bulk of off-season prep. Now, for Steelers fans clinging to any sign of hope, that's the kind of update you want to hear. It suggests that Rodgers hasn't ruled anything out. He hasn't ghosted the team or shut down negotiations. If anything, he's just pressing pause for a moment, and given the gravity of what he's dealing with, that feels fair. It might not be what the front office wants, especially as other teams are locking in their starting quarterbacks and building rhythm early, but it's a situation that demands empathy and patience. On top of that, there's growing chatter among NFL insiders that supports this idea of Rodgers joining Pittsburgh sooner rather than later. ESPN's Adam Schefter, speaking on a Wisconsin radio show earlier today, said that Rodgers signing with the Steelers within the next 7 days is on the table. That's not a guarantee, of course, but Schefter doesn't usually toss that. Kind of phrasing around lightly, and when you add in reports from other sources like Mike Florio, who've heard similar buzz about Rodgers being expected at Steelers OTAs next week, it starts to sound less like speculation and more like something real. Florio even mentioned that there's talk of a press conference potentially happening before OTAs begin. That would be huge. That would be the signal fans have been waiting for, that Rodgers is not only returning, but doing so with purpose, with intent, and with enough time to truly gel with this new offense before the season kicks off. So while the Rogan podcast didn't give us a dramatic headline like Rodgers signs with Steelers, it did give us a clearer picture of the man behind the silence. We saw a more vulnerable side of him, a side dealing with heartbreak, fear, and uncertainty. It's easy to forget that athletes, even superstars like Aaron Rodgers, are human beings first. They carry the same burdens we all do. And sometimes, those burdens take precedence over the game, no matter how much fans want answers. Rodgers has always marched to the beat of his own drum. Whether you love him or hate him, you know that much. He's never been one to follow the crowd or play by the league's unspoken rules. And this latest chapter is no different. Instead of making a flashy announcement or jumping into the next phase of his career, he's choosing to process things his way, at his pace. The fact that he's letting the world in just a little on what's been holding him back adds some much needed context to the delay. And here's the thing, if he does end up in Pittsburgh this season, having taken that time to deal with his life and return with clarity, it could make him more focused, more determined, and more motivated than we've seen in a long time. Because when football finally becomes the priority again, it'll be with a sense of purpose that only comes after walking through something real. Now diving deeper into what this all means for the Steelers and the NFL landscape, it's clear that the Aaron Rodgers situation remains a complex mix of uncertainty and cautious optimism. On one hand, the team is holding out hope that their potential franchise quarterback will arrive ready to lead them through what could be a pivotal season. On the other hand, there's the very real possibility that Rodgers might step away from football entirely if the circumstances in his personal life demand it. That delicate balance is where everything hangs right now. The Steelers front office has been remarkably patient, which says a lot. Normally, NFL teams can't afford to wait around indefinitely for a player, even a quarterback of Rodgers' caliber. Training camps start, preseason approaches, and rosters need to be built. Yet Pittsburgh seems willing to give Rodgers the time he needs, signaling that they believe the payoff could be huge if he returns. It's not just about Rodgers' talent on the field, it's about what his presence could mean for the entire organization, from the locker room vibe to fan excitement to media attention. Still, this offseason has been a roller coaster, and Rodgers' prolonged absence has only added to the suspense. As the calendar inches closer to training camp, the pressure will mount for him to show up in shape, ready to learn the playbook and connect with his new teammates. The quarterback position is the heartbeat of any football team, and with Pittsburgh's offense gearing up to potentially lean on him, that chemistry can't be rushed or faked. If Rodgers does arrive on time, that opens up a world of possibilities. He'll have the chance to work closely with Art Smith, the offensive coordinator, to develop a system tailored to his strengths. There will be reps with the offensive line, crucial for any quarterback to build trust and timing, especially given that Rodgers will be stepping into a new environment after his long tenure in Green Bay and brief stint in New York. Wide receivers will be eager to connect with a signal caller of his caliber, and the overall morale boost for the Steelers locker room would be immense. But let's be realistic. Rodgers' mental and emotional readiness is just as important as his physical condition. The situation with cancer in his close circle undoubtedly weighs heavy on his mind. It's not something that simply fades away with time. The stress, the uncertainty, and the emotional toll could linger throughout the season. That's why some insiders believe that even if Rodgers signs soon, his participation in the earliest team activities might be limited. He might prioritize supporting his loved ones over pushing through every single OTA and minicamp practice. That's human, and it's understandable. This leads to a deeper question about what Rodgers' role on the team might look like in the early weeks. Will he be fully integrated and ready to start week 1? Or will he take some time to find his rhythm, easing into the offense as he manages the personal battles off the field? Steelers fans will be watching closely, hoping for the former, but understanding if it's the latter. Beyond the football field, Rodgers' appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast adds another layer to his public persona. It showed that he's comfortable engaging with complex and sometimes controversial topics, from politics to conspiracy theories, which might not sit well with everyone. But it also revealed a man who's grappling with life beyond the gridiron, a man who's not ready to simply be a football player again. This duality is fascinating because it paints Rodgers as more than an athlete. He's a multi-dimensional figure navigating multiple worlds at once. The 3-hour conversation with Rogan felt less like a promotional interview and more like a candid deep dive into his worldview. That Rodgers consciously avoided football topics suggests that, at least for now, the game is not the center of his focus. For an NFL player whose career has revolved around the sport, that's significant. It hints that whatever happens next, it won't be rushed or driven by external pressures. Rodgers wants to control the narrative and pace of his next chapter. Still, despite the prolonged silence on his football future, the chatter among NFL insiders and Steelers personnel remains positive. Owner Art Rooney II has expressed optimism, publicly saying he expects Rodgers to sign. Those words carry weight because owners rarely make casual statements about player signings, especially not someone like Rodgers, who has been a hot topic all offseason. Moreover, the buzz about a possible press conference soon points to the likelihood that Pittsburgh is preparing for an official announcement. That would mark a major turning point, shifting the focus from speculation to concrete planning. For a franchise that's eager to move forward after some turbulent seasons, Rodgers' arrival could feel like a fresh start. It's also important to consider the potential impact on the Steelers' season outlook. Even if Rodgers doesn't bring a Super Bowl guarantee, his experience and leadership alone could elevate the team's performance. A realistic goal might be finishing with a solid record, say 11 wins and 6 losses, and making a meaningful playoff run. That kind of progress would be huge for a team hungry to reclaim relevance in the AFC, but nothing is guaranteed in football. Injuries, chemistry issues, and unexpected challenges can derail even the most promising seasons. Rodgers' personal situation adds an unpredictable element to all of this. If the health concerns among his close circle worsen, or if the emotional strain proves too great, he could decide to step away from the sport altogether. That scenario would leave Pittsburgh scrambling to find alternative options at quarterback and force fans to recalibrate their expectations. Still, the prevailing sentiment among those who know Rodgers best is hopeful. His biographer, trusted insiders, and even some Steelers officials believe he wants to play and that he'll sign before the month of May ends. That timeline is critical because it allows Rodgers to participate in Phase 3 of OTA starting late May, giving him roughly 9 practices before training camp in late July. That's a decent chunk of preparation time for a quarterback entering a new system. Looking ahead, all eyes will be on the upcoming Pat McAfee show appearances. Rodgers has a history of revealing big news or dropping hints during his chats with McAfee, so fans are bracing for a possible surprise. Whether it's an official signing announcement or more insight into his mindset, those interviews could be pivotal in understanding what's next. One thing's for sure, the Rodgers saga is far from over. It's a story that blends sports, personal struggle, and cultural commentary in a way few athletes' stories do. And as the Steelers and the NFL world wait for clarity, the hope remains that Rodgers will find a way back to the field, bringing his talent, passion, and leadership to Pittsburgh. Until then, the waiting game continues. Rodgers' health, Both mental and emotional will dictate the next steps, and the Steelers will prepare to adapt, hoping that their gamble on one of the league's most iconic quarterbacks pays off. If it does, it could change the course of their franchise for years to come. If it doesn't, the organization will have to pivot quickly, finding new ways to compete in a league where timing and readiness are everything. The coming weeks will be critical, not just for Rodgers and the Steelers, but for everyone following this saga. Will Rodgers suit up for the black and gold? Will the personal battles keep him away from football? Or will he chart an entirely different path that surprises us all? Only time will tell. But one thing's certain, this isn't just a sports story, it's a deeply human one. And that makes it all the more compelling. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that's sending ripples through the NFL rumor mill, whispers are growing louder that quarterback Baker Mayfield has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, potentially setting the stage for one of the most intriguing redemption arcs in recent football history. While no official confirmation has surfaced from the franchise, insiders close to the situation suggest that the deal is all but sealed, and fans across the league are bracing for what could come next. Mayfield, once hailed as the savior of the Cleveland Browns after being drafted first overall in 2018, has had a roller coaster career filled with highs, controversy, and underwhelming lows. After a promising rookie season and a playoff win in 2020, inconsistency and injuries derailed his momentum, leading to his eventual departure from Cleveland. Short-lived stints with the Panthers and Rams followed, and while he showed flashes of his former self, the fire that once fueled his reputation as a fearless competitor seemed to flicker. Then came 2023 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a season in which Mayfield regained some of his swagger and stability. Yet despite a strong performance, questions about his long-term viability as a starter remained. That's why the rumor of a Steelers signing is so captivating. If true, Pittsburgh could offer Mayfield the structure and support he needs to truly reestablish himself. With a storied franchise known for its no-nonsense culture and loyal fan base, the fit could be perfect, or combustible. Speculation is swirling around what this could mean for the Steelers' current quarterback room. Does this signal the end of the road for Kenny Pickett as the undisputed starter? Is this a battle for the #1 spot or a calculated insurance policy? League sources have hinted that head coach Mike Tomlin has long admired Mayfield's toughness and leadership, traits that could endear him to a blue-collar fan base hungry for postseason success. Of course, it's all still unofficial, but where there's smoke, there's often fire. If Baker Mayfield does indeed don the black and gold, the AFC North just got a whole lot more interesting. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, Pittsburgh will be the place where Mayfield finally silences his doubters once and for all. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.